What if I told you something strange? Two people, same house, same bank account, same body. One wakes up feeling alive. The other wakes up feeling like life already passed them by. Same circumstances, completely different experience. What's the difference? It's not luck. It's not money. It's not even health. It's something so small, most people never notice it. It's where they put their attention. And before you dismiss that as too simple, stay with me. Because by the end of this, you're going to understand something most people spend their entire lives missing. Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel is 68 years old, retired 2 years ago, did everything right, built the career, raised the kids, paid the bills, showed up. And now he wakes up every morning with a strange emptiness. He looks in the mirror and thinks, is this all there is? He scrolls through his phone. Bad news. Old co-workers, still busy. Kids living far away. He doesn't say it out loud, but underneath it all is one quiet sentence. I don't matter like I used to. Now let me tell you about Grace. Grace is also 68, also retired. Her husband passed 3 years ago. Objectively, her life looks harder than Daniel's, but when Grace wakes up, she doesn't reach for her phone. She sits still. She feels the weight of the blanket. She hears a bird outside. She takes one slow breath and she thinks, I'm still here. Not dramatically, not cheerfully, just quietly. And somehow her days unfold differently. Not perfectly, not pain-free, but differently. So what is Grace doing that Daniel isn't? That question changed psychology. Here's something your brain is doing right now without your permission. It's scanning. Every second, your brain processes roughly 11 million bits of information. You know how many you consciously notice? About 40. 40. Let that sink in for a second. Out of 11 million signals coming at you, you experience 40, which means your brain is constantly deciding what matters, what gets through, what becomes your life. And here's the part that changes everything. That filter is trainable. Now here's the problem. Your brain comes with a default setting. It's called negativity bias. It's not weakness. It's ancient survival wiring. 50,000 years ago, the humans who noticed danger survived. The ones who got lost admiring the sunset sometimes didn't. So your brain evolved to scan for threat, loss, rejection, what's missing, what could go wrong. That wiring kept your ancestors alive. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not being chased right now, and yet that same survival system is still running. It scans your life for what's wrong. And if you never consciously redirect it, it will do that forever. That's Daniel. He's not broken. He's just running the default program. Have you ever noticed your own mind doing that? Scanning for what's missing instead of what's here? Be honest. So what does gratitude actually do? This is where it gets powerful. When you intentionally focus on something you appreciate, even something small, your prefrontal cortex activates. That's the thoughtful, decision-making part of your brain. At the same time, your amygdala, your internal alarm system, begins to quiet down. Your brain releases a small amount of dopamine, not fireworks, just a steady signal that says, this matters. Pay attention. And when you repeat that process consistently, your brain rewires itself. Neuroplasticity. Neurons that fire together, wire together. If you repeatedly fire the what's wrong pathway, that pathway gets stronger. If you repeatedly fire the what's working pathway, that pathway gets stronger. Pause for a moment. That means your emotional future is being built by what you practice noticing today. There's something called the reticular activating system. Don't worry about the name. Here's what it does. It decides what gets through the filter. Have you ever bought a specific car and suddenly you see it everywhere? The car didn't multiply. Your brain just decided it mattered, so it started letting it through. Gratitude works the same way. When you train your mind to look for what's working, you start finding it. Kindness you missed. Moments you rushed past. Beauty that was always there. They didn't appear. You just started noticing them. Isn't that interesting? Your life may already contain more than you think. Now let's talk about your body, because this part surprises people. When you dwell in regret, resentment, or worry, your nervous system activates fight or flight. Cortisol rises, muscles tense, Sleep gets lighter, inflammation increases, and here's the cruel part. Your brain cannot fully distinguish between a real threat in front of you and a thought replayed from 10 years ago. You relive an old argument. Your body reacts as if it's happening now. You imagine a future problem. Your body responds as if it's real. Just notice that. How many times has your body paid the price for something that isn't even happening anymore? Gratitude interrupts that loop. When you genuinely focus on something you appreciate, your nervous system gets a different message. Right now, I am safe, and safety allows healing. Sleep deepens, heart rate steadies, inflammation drops. Your body is listening to your interpretation of your life, not just your life itself. Let me tell you about James. James retired after 32 years at the same company, and after he left, he turned bitter. I gave everything to that place, and they just moved on. He replayed old grievances. His wife felt it. His kids felt it. He wasn't yelling. He was just heavy. Then one afternoon, his granddaughter asked, "Grandpa, what was the coolest thing you ever did at work?" He started talking, and something unexpected happened. The stories that came out weren't bitter, they were proud. The project he saved, the people he mentored, the problems he solved. Halfway through the story, he stopped, and he said quietly, "I forgot about that." That moment didn't change his past, it changed his relationship to it, and that changed everything. Gratitude doesn't rewrite history, it reframes meaning, and meaning is what the human mind runs on. Now let's go somewhere unexpected. In quantum physics, there's something called the observer effect. At the subatomic level, particles behave differently when measured. Before observation, they exist in probabilities. After observation, one possibility becomes real. Now, I'm not saying your thoughts control the universe. Stay with me. But here's what matters. Even at the most fundamental physical level we can measure, observation changes outcomes. Attention matters. Two people walk the same street. One sees decay. One sees character. Same world. Different experience. In physics, potential collapses into reality when observed. In life, possibility collapses into experience when interpreted. Your interpretation doesn't just describe your life, it becomes your life. And gratitude shifts interpretation. Let's return to Daniel, because this is where it gets real. Daniel thought his problem was purpose. He thought he needed something big. But one evening, after a doctor asked him, "When's the last time you noticed something beautiful?" he couldn't answer. That scared him. So that night, he sat outside. No television, no phone. He just watched the sky change colour. And for a few minutes, the emptiness softened, not disappeared. Softened. The next morning, he tried something small. He wrote down 3 things that were still working. His hearing, his coffee maker, the neighbour who waved. Ridiculously small things, but he kept doing it. Weeks passed, and something shifted. One morning, without trying, he noticed sunlight hitting the kitchen counter and actually paused. That hadn't happened in years. A few days later, he called his daughter first, not because he felt desperate, but because he felt steady enough to reach out. Months later, he started volunteering once a week. Nothing dramatic. But his granddaughter told him, "Grandpa, you sound different." That's what rewiring looks like. Not fireworks. Subtle shifts that compound. There's a theory in psychology called broaden and build. Negative emotions narrow your focus. Fear locks onto the threat. Anger locks onto the offense. Sadness locks onto the loss. Useful in short bursts. Dangerous when chronic. Because when your attention narrows too long, your world shrinks. But gratitude broadens your awareness. It opens the lens. You see more options, more resources, more connection. And those broadened moments build resilience. They build strength. They build relationships. You're not just feeling better temporarily. You're building capacity. Take a breath with me here. Think about how different your life might feel if your attention widened instead of narrowed. Now let's talk about relationships. The most grounded people you know, they're not necessarily the happiest. They're present. When they talk to you, they're actually there. Gratitude stabilizes your nervous system, and a stable nervous system is one of the most attractive qualities a human can have. People relax around it. They open up around it. They feel seen. That's grace. That's why people linger longer when they visit her. She's not performing positivity. She's at peace with the present moment. And that changes the entire room. So why does gratitude change your life? Because it changes what you notice. What you notice shapes what you feel. What you feel shapes how you act. How you act shapes your relationships. Your relationships shape your sense of meaning. And meaning shapes your entire experience of being alive. It doesn't require wealth. It doesn't require youth. It doesn't require a perfect body. It requires attention, practiced daily. So tonight, before you sleep, don't force gratitude. Just ask one quiet question. What is still here? Let the answer be small. Let it be ordinary. Let it be enough. And tomorrow morning, before the phone, before the news, before the old patterns wake up, pause. And notice something, anything. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. You think you're just changing your mood, but you're changing your filter. You're changing your nervous system. You're changing your interpretation. And when you change your interpretation, you change the world you wake up into. Not because the world shifted, but because you did. And that shift, that's not small. That might be everything.